Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and these are my 21 classic, controversial banned books to read in 2021. Here we go. So in 2021, these are 21 books that I plan on picking up or trying to pick up. Maybe I won't get to all of them, but at least the vast majority of these books in 2021 that I want to pick up and read. They're all classic books, so they're classically renowned, but they're also all controversial or banned books, meaning, actually not or, they're all controversial and banned books. They've all been banned at some point in time, somewhere in the world for some reason. Now, some of these books you may think, why would you ever want to read that book? And the reason is because banned books or controversial books, books that have ideas that are very different to my own, are sometimes good books to read because they help to solidify my own ideas. They help me to be able to justify my own beliefs, and they actually help me to have a more well-formed opinion of things I don't know very much about. So all the books on this list, they don't represent my beliefs at all. In fact, I'd be surprised to say that most of these books would have any, representation of my beliefs at all. But they're all controversial and powerful, and therefore deserve to be read and to be understood. So let's jump right into my controversial and surprising list that I'm going to be reading this year. First, Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. This is a book that is like semi-autobiographical of his life previous to his rise to power. This is while he's in prison in like I don't know the year. I'm not going to give you a fake year, but I'll maybe splash one up here on the screen. And this book, I think, can help us to understand like his anti-Semitic beliefs, where they came from, and how do we ourselves keep ourselves from being able to have beliefs like those. I think that can be really important. Understanding the other perspective can be really important. So this is a clearly banned book in many places. I don't think it was allowed to be sold in Germany until like the 1990s or something. The next book on my list is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I'm actually surprised I haven't read this before. A lot of people claim this has helped them be really successful in business and law. It doesn't just apply to like actual warfare, but a lot of times banned in prisons because of the actual warfare bit. It's pretty controversial. A lot of people say it's helpful just for life in general, although it has a lot of ideas in it that I think aren't necessarily the best ideas. We'll see though. I'm going to read through this book and let you know what I think. The Call of the Wild by Jack London. I actually just read this a few days ago. I'll put a video here of me reading this while I'm out in freezing temperatures and several inches of snow because, that makes sense for The Call of the Wild. This is a really great book. It's been banned for a number of reasons, including being too radical, as well as like some animal abuse and like fighting and things like that. But a really, really well done story, really interesting, really great novel by Jack London. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky is on my list because I read Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Rules for Life or something like that. I can't remember the exact subtitle in that book, but I read that recently. He's obviously taken a lot of his beliefs from Crime and Punishment, and I think it'll be interesting to read this novel and just see what we get from it. Okay, The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx is a very powerful political document, and it applies surprisingly well to 2021. Lots of stuff in there about classism and communism as well, but capitalism and how those things all mesh together, and a belief system that has been very powerful and prevalent in our world. So I'm excited to actually see what is in there and how does it apply to our current situation, and in what ways, what good can we bring from it, and what stuff should we leave behind. The Anarchist Cookbook is a super controversial book. It has like all sorts of recipes in it for like making bombs and meth and LSD and stuff like that. But it also has some ideas in it that are powerful beyond just the cookbook section itself. I'm interested to see what's in here and what makes this book so controversial and powerful. I'm concerned that I won't be able to get an original version of this book. Apparently they have kind of cleaned up versions from like, I don't know, published in 2012 or 2018 or something. I may end up just getting one of those. We'll see what actually ends up happening. That is classic for a book that has, recipes for meth in it, I think, though. The Chrysalids by John Wyndham is a very controversial book. It's dystopian in nature, which I really like dystopias. I have several of those on the list. I'm excited to get to those because I enjoy a good novel that's dystopian and allows you to think, but also enjoy the story at the same time. So this is a book I'm really excited to get into. Things Fall Apart by Achebe is a classic African novel. I think so often we tend to either read from like Western thought or Eastern thought and seclude that kind of African thought as well, which has some distinctions and some differentiations in it. I really have appreciated, I've perused through this novel a couple times, but I've never actually read it. So I'm excited to get down and actually read this novel and pull from it some of the things that I think are going to be really, really good thoughts and different thoughts than what I'm used to reading. I read The Haunting of Bryn Wilder, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago or something. I've actually put a video up here for it. It referenced The Illustrated Man a bunch of times by Ray Bradbury, and I realized I haven't read it. It's got a bunch of short stories in it, and I love Ray Bradbury as an author, so I'm excited to actually get in and read his short stories as well, because I only read his long form stuff before. This is going to be, and this is also like critically acclaimed classic book, so I'm excited to read this for sure. American Psycho is an incredibly controversial book. Actually, it's not that controversial. Pretty much everyone thinks it's just smut. I've seen a few reviews on it and they say it's just horrible, there's nothing good about it. I'm gonna pick that book up and I'm gonna at least start reading it. And maybe I'm gonna find after 20% of the book, I'm gonna be like, actually this was trash, don't even bother finishing it, don't read it, it's not good. Maybe that's what I'll find. I think sometimes, books get labeled this way, and actually there's a lot of good in the book. It just has been labeled as trash, and so, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Maybe this is just a trash book. Men Like Gods by H.G. Wells, I'm really excited about because it's a dystopian novel with like parallel universes inside of it. And it was done in a time period where parallel universes hadn't already been overdone to ad infinitum. So I'm really excited about this book. I think it's going to be good. And I like H.G. Wells a lot. So we'll see what this is actually like. Is it any good? Is there a reason I haven't read it yet? Hopefully I enjoy this book though. The next 2 books are both high school books. The Chocolate War is one of them. This one is, it feels to me based on the description, maybe like Lord of the Flies-esque, like very mob mentality, human nature, that kind of thing. We'll dig into it and find out a bit more about it for sure. The next one is The Absolutely True Diary of a part-time Indian, where a Native American boy goes to a local all-white high school, and obviously there's some controversy and some clashing that goes on there. Both of these kind of feel to me like Sinclair's novels, so I'm excited to kind of to read these. They're both young adult novels, which means they should be pretty quick reads. The Satanic Verses is apparently controversial, and especially in the Muslim world, for misrepresenting like what the religion of Muslim is about and some of those ideas. I'm excited to read it though because I like controversial books and I've heard that this one is really well written, so I'm excited to get into this novel. The Tropic of Cancer is really interesting because it was actually banned, I think the dates were like 1934 to 1961 in the United States, where it wasn't even published here. That's a long time for something to be banned in the United States, which were, classically the land of the free. Like it literally wasn't allowed. So I'm really interested to find out what made this book so controversial that was banned for so long. This is a very influential book in modern literature, so yeah, I'm excited for that. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley is actually a book I've read before. I read it when I was in high school and I actually read it back to back with 1984 and then Brave New World. I focused in on 1984 a lot and got a lot out of it, and I think I missed some good stuff in Brave New World. So I'm gonna reread Brave New World this year. I think it has some stuff that is gonna be really powerful for our current situation in 2021. There's some good stuff in there, and I'm excited to actually get in, read that book again, and find out what is it that makes it such a powerful book. Catcher in the Rye is classically, critically acclaimed. I have several people who say this is their favorite all-time book of all time, so definitely need to read it. I'm actually a little embarrassed that I have not read in its entirety The Catcher in the Rye before. That is a failing on my part. This year we're gonna fix it. Green Eggs and Ham is a really surprising choice for this list. I didn't even know it was a controversial book. It's been banned in China several times for quote unquote early Marxist ideas. I'm gonna read it again this year, but with, without the lens of children's book on it, but with a lens of early Marxist ideas on it and see what I can find. So that will be interesting. Arabian Nights goes on this list. It is currently banned in many Arab countries. This is a collection of short stories that have been written over like a long period of time by like a ton of different artists, authors. And so, these are supposed to be short stories. We'll see how controversial they really are, or if I can figure out what's controversial about them. I'm excited to again, read from a different culture some of these ideas. A Clockwork Orange. I haven't read the book or seen the movie before. I know this is dystopian, and I know this is a little bit perverse or a little bit like psychologically, I don't know, how do you describe that? I don't know. I've heard that this is just very deranged, maybe. Neither one of those words is the word I'm looking for, but close enough. Something between perverse and deranged is A Clockwork Orange. And so I'm not excited about this novel, except that I do like dystopian novels. And A Clockwork Orange has been really obviously influential as well. So we'll see what happens in this book and what I think of it. Last and certainly not least is China Dream, which is the most recently written book on this list. It was written in 2018, so it maybe doesn't quite qualify as a classic, but it's certainly controversial and currently banned in China. This book follows like a government official in China, and he's like implanting like propaganda into people's heads instead of their dreams. It's like Inception meets Chinese propaganda. I'm excited to read this novel. Apparently it's really well written, and I do like controversial stuff. So this is my list, my 21 controversial banned classic books to read in 2021. Let me know, which of these books have you read before? Which are your favorites off this list? And let me know what you're planning on reading in 2021. Are there any classic books, any controversial books that you feel like, actually it's time, I need to read them this year? If so, let me know what your list is in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, do feel free to like and subscribe. And if you're thinking about buying any of these books, use one of the Amazon affiliate links in the description. That really helps out our channel, but it doesn't cost you any extra. Thank you again so much for watching, guys. And as always, stay safe out there.
The tide is turning.